Hello everybody, this is Bobby Nugget.
And I'm Rosie.
And today we're back at our podcast, episode 6 of Dumb and Dumber. So today's episode will be on relationships.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Could be.
Now, relationships, we mean like, special friends. And stuff.
You make it sound like they're not okay in the head.
It's fine. Anyway, yeah. So those friends, the ones that are very special to us, and we can interpret it any way that we want. And Rosie, if you want to interpret it that way,
Well, I assumed we were talking about like romantic relationships, but
yeah.
okay.
I just said those very special friends. You could also say romantic, like a normal person. But as we all know, I am not a normal person.
I can't.
Okay, Rosie, do you want to start?
I guess I can. Okay.
Have you ever been in a relationship?
2, both in elementary school, before I knew what dating was, and my parents were not letting me date until I was 16. So, sorry, Mom.
Oh, it's the same with me, except I was in 3 relationships in middle school.
Wow, you're just getting them, aren't you?
I know, right? I'm
Such a lady.
I'm such a player. Except they were all like years apart. It was pretty great.
Well, I mean, mine were too. The first one was in kindergarten, and the second one was like in 4th grade. So.
Yeah, no, I had one in kindergarten, and that kind of transferred into 1st grade, and then another one we broke up at the beginning of 1st grade, and then towards the end of 1st grade, I had a girlfriend, and she broke up with me really quickly because she was a grade ahead of me, and because of that, her friends were making fun of her.
I would too.
So yeah, she broke up with me. And then another one, and set through all of 2nd grade, I had a quote-unquote crush. I'm saying that because it was not a crush. I was in elementary school. So through 2nd grade, I had a crush on this girl, but she had a boyfriend, and he moved away at the beginning of 3rd grade, and it was the most romantic thing I have ever had in my life, even though it was in elementary school and it wasn't romantic whatsoever. It was, we were walking along at recess, and she was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Well, over the summer, I made a list of people that I would want to date, and you were the first one on the list." And I was like in my mind, I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm just like, "Oh, cool."
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, then we dated for all of 3rd grade. That was pretty cool. Yeah, my parents also will not let me date until I'm 16 at least.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay, my kindergarten boyfriend was I remember his name, Ryan, if you're out there.
Ryan was the name of my 3rd grade girlfriend.
What? Wow. Okay, so Ryan, I don't remember how I met Ryan. I just remember in class we used to help each other with the what's that thing where there's a lot of different letters and you're trying to find the word? Word search?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to say they have a special name, but they don't. Okay. He used to help me with word searches. I would say I helped him too, but I really didn't because I just couldn't do them.
Oh yeah, no, I'm terrible at those.
And so actually, I think kindergarten was the time that I was apparently the most attractive to people of the same age because I got asked out a lot in kindergarten. I remember I used to have boys that were good friends that would ask me out, and there was this one boy that sat next to me on the bus every day. Why kindergarten, okay?
I feel like kindergarten kids are this is when they're first really being exposed in mass to other children, to lots of other children at one time. And so they're this is what adults do. They start dating each other. So I want to be mature and I'm going to ask out other students. And then as we get older, we kind of realize that, dating someone is more significant than we previously thought.
And it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, Ryan, looking back on it, it was pretty decent for our kindergarten relationship. We would set aside like 5 minutes during recess every day to hang out, and we'd go hang out with our own friends. And sometimes he would call me, and I would call him, and we would just talk for like half an hour. And then he moved, and both of us sat down, and very civilly we were like, long distance relationships just don't work out, and I'm really sorry, but we're gonna have to break it off, and yeah.
Oh, that's nice. None of that ever happened to me.
That's the only time, and I don't think I'll ever get a relationship that was that mature ever again.
No, in kindergarten and third grade, how we broke up was they just moved away and I never saw them again, which is sad. So technically, I still have 2 girlfriends.
Break it off now. Do it now.
I don't know where they are.
Well, just do it now over video.
Ryan and Violet, if you're watching or listening to my podcast, I'm breaking it off with you. I'm sorry. It's just been, it's been a good run, but I'm sorry. It just has to end.
Especially since you were cheating on at least one of them.
Yeah, sorry, Violet.
Bye, Ryan. I'm like, Ryan, if you're out there, call me. And then you're like, Ryan, we're over.
Yeah. No, and then, I'm going to leave the middle girlfriend, her name undisclosed because I still respect her as a person. I don't feel like she would want her name revealed. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not friends. We never talk anymore, which is sad. But, I still see her occasionally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to go sit with her at lunch one day, and she's just like, Aiden, we can't date anymore. I'm like, okay, bye.
Oh.
Yeah, that was depressing.
My 4th grade relationship was with this, I'll change his name. For some reason I want to call him Igloo, so his name is Igloo.
Okay.
Okay, so Igloo and I, no, this was 5th grade, but we'd known each other in 4th grade, and I really liked him. And so his friend, I think his friend's name is like Antonio. We're gonna just, okay, I've already said it. His friend was Antonio and Igloo. His friend Antonio, we were talking, and I was trying to play it cool because Antonio was like, did you know Isaac used to have a crush on you? And I was like, I definitely don't still have a crush on Igloo.
Wait, you said Isaac.
Okay, you know what? For that. He doesn't even, it's fine. Sometimes I say last names. Okay, so Isaac was like, yeah, I used to have a crush on you back in 4th grade, and I was like, yeah, me too. And he was like, but if you wanted, we could date. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Just for the heck of it. And like Antonio was someone like pushing for it, and then we did pretty good for a couple of months. And I feel bad looking back on this, even though I was in 5th grade. I met his best friend, and I was like, wow, your best friend's kind of a lot hotter than you. And I'm significantly more interested. But I didn't say this, and I felt bad, so I didn't break it off. And so the relationship just got worse and worse and worse. And eventually he was just like, casually, he was just like, yeah, we're done. And then I remember being really mad about that because I was a weird 5th grader. And so my friend and we just started this whole like thing where we were so against Isaac and Antonio, and we just like hated each other. Yeah, Isaac, if you're out there, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So because I'm out of stories to tell. Oh no, I have one where me and my kindergarten girlfriend, we got in trouble once because we were like eyelash, adults will do it. I don't think adults really do it. It's mainly like little kids who are dating, but they'll like put their eyelashes together and like blink really fast. And apparently that's like something that like little kids do.
What?
And I was like, this is kind of weird, but Violet wanted to do it, so she was just like, Aiden, come over here and like do like butterflies with me. And so I'm like, okay. And so like I walked over and we just like rubbed eyelashes together, and we got in trouble for that.
I've never heard of that. What?
No, I didn't really get in trouble. My teacher was just like, no, don't do that.
Is that really a thing?
I guess. I mean, that doesn't seem like something adults would do, but it seems like something that like little kids would do, thinking that it was mature of them to do.
I think that is something that like little kids would do, and you'd like see little kids doing it, and you'd be like, oh, that's really like cute, I guess, and then it's kind of weird.
Also in 3rd grade, me and Ryan one day, we thought we were sitting there, and she said the word penis. At first,
Aiden.
we didn't know that
Aiden.
we didn't know that it was inappropriate. And so one of our friends told us that's inappropriate, and we're like, oh my god, our minds are so dirty.
Scandalous.
We just come up with bad words. Oh my god! And then we ran around screaming at people. We have dirty minds. It was
Aiden.
terrible.
Oh my gosh.
And now I look back at it, and I'm like, I could never do that. Like my social conscience would just say stop.
Yeah, mine too. Oh my gosh. Okay, the only other story I can think of is not a relationship. Okay. So
Also, people, that's not actually cussing because it's anatomy.
Yes, it's autonomy. Anatomy. Wait.
Autonomy?
I don't know.
Autonomy?
Okay, listen. Don't give me that look, okay?
I'm giving you that look.
It's been a very long day. Okay. So the only one I can think of is with, I'm just gonna end up saying his name, so I just won't say his last name, because I despise him. But so back when I had first moved here and I didn't know like anybody, this guy named Brian would talk to me a lot, and so we hung out in gym. He is a grade older than me, but we were like, oh yeah, you're cool, we get along really well, you're a good friend. And so we hung out a lot, and people around us used to make like jokes about me being his girlfriend because I really got on his nerves. And I was just like, ew, that's disgusting. Definitely gross. Okay, but we hung out a lot, and we got to be pretty good friends. And like, I started to get suspicious that he had a crush on me, but I was like, no, that's not a thing. And so I just kept ignoring it until partway into freshman year, because his family and my family are pretty good friends, and I adore his mom. His mom's great. And they were over at our house because we were outside, around the campfire hanging out. And I was sitting in a hammock, and he like sat next to me, and he was like, I had this crush on the girl, and I need your advice. And I was like, oh, thank heavens. And I was like, I'm safe. And he was like, yeah, she's like really cute, and I've been to ask her out, and I've been kind of looking to see if there's signs. And I was like, oh, who is she? And he was like, you have to tell me somebody you've had a crush on too. And I just made up a name. And he was like, I don't know them. And I was like, yeah, because I didn't have a crush on anybody. Anyways, so
Yeah, no, that's terrible when, like, because for so long, like, I didn't have any, like, crush on anybody, and people would be like, oh, and who's your crush? And I'm like, nobody. And they're like, oh, yeah, right. Everybody
good
has a
enough for me.
crush. And I'm like, I'm good.
Nobody's good enough for me. No, okay, but he was saying this to me, and then, so he was like, and I was like, okay, give me a hint as to who it is, because he was kind of, playing it cool. He was like, it's somebody here, and I was like, you have a crush on my older sister? Dude, she's way too old for you. He was like, no, and I was like, you have a crush on my younger sister? That's even worse! Because I was in very strong denial. And he was like, no, I have a crush on you! And then he ran off, because his family was leaving, just dropped a bombshell on me, and I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. And then he never addressed it, except he used to like walk me between classes just so we could like hang out, in quotation marks. And we were walking between classes, and he was like, Rosie, I have a crush on you. And I was like, yeah, you told me. And he's like, no, I haven't. And I was like, yes, you did. And he just was in firm denial that he had told me. And he was like, I don't remember telling you. And I was like, what? Okay. I was like, I can't do this right now. I will talk to you after school. So after school, I'm sorry. I know this is a very long story. But
That's fine.
There's some tea
I
here.
tell long stories all the time.
And so after school, I went on a 5-minute just explanation about how I really liked him as a friend, and I hope he didn't feel like I had led him on, because I felt really bad at the time. And I was like, I want to keep being friends with you, and maybe you're just kind of getting it mixed up. I didn't say it was because he didn't have much experience hanging out with the other gender, but that's definitely the reason why. And so he was like, okay, and I was like, good, we've reached an understanding, we're on the same page. But apparently he thought that meant I also had a crush on him. And he told his mom that I also liked him back, because he had told her that he was going to tell me. And he just told several of our mutual friends, mostly in like our church youth group and like the guys. And so I had to go straighten it out, because I was like, no, because he's kind of, he's a weirdo. Yeah, so that was just great. But so the biggest problem I ran into with this child was that, okay, so you know the JROTC ball?
Yeah.
Okay, the year previous I'd gone with him because his mom had called up my mom and been like, hey, he has to take somebody because it's a grade. If I chaperone, would it be okay if Rosie went with him? Okay, well, he made me think that his mom had already talked to my mom about that freshman year, about me being a freshman and going with him, and that my mom had said yes. And if my mom had said yes, and I was stuck, and so I thought I had to go with him. It turns out he had not.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was talking to my friend, who's also in JROTC, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And she was like, well, I was just going to take my younger brother, but if you need a date, then I'll take you. And so she ran down and be like, because if she took me, then he couldn't, if she put her name down for me first. And so she did. And the next day in class, Brian went to sign me up to go on with him, and he found out that Shonia already had, and in class he yelled at her, I hate you, and ran out.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's still, we occasionally see each other, especially when we do live streaming stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's super awkward, and I can't tell if he knows that I'm definitely not interested or if he still thinks there's something there. I just can't tell, and we haven't talked about it.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
And I want to die on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, in 7th grade, I'm not going to say the name of this person, but I know they listen to this podcast, and they'll know it's them. In 7th grade, we had PE together, and everybody knew that she had a crush on this other guy. But one of my friends, because like we were all in the same like friend group, but my friend, he was trying to get him off. He was trying to get her off of his back. So he went up to her and he's just like, it was pretty cool, Aiden. And so then she had a huge crush on me, and everybody knew it, and I knew it, and she knew that I knew it. And so right before winter break, she was like, hey Aiden, do you want to be my date? And I didn't know what to say because she was like super aggressive, and I knew that if I said no, she would punch me in the gut. But I really didn't want to date her just because she was just a person I really didn't want to date. She's just.
Yeah, there's some people you'd rather just be friends with because you're good friends.
Yeah.
Date, whatever.
Yeah. So, and I found my diary the other day from 7th grade, and I wrote down over winter break, I don't want to say no because I don't get punched in the gut. And so I went back to school, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I just don't want to date you. And she punched me in the gut. It was painful.
Very rational, whatever. Okay. That's my only other story.
Yeah, okay. So I just noticed on the wall in this room is there's a poster up there that says your, but I thought it said yort.
Oh, I thought it said too.
Because there's a plus sign next to it, but it looks like a T. So I thought it said yort. So while you were telling your story, I was like, what? Does that say yort?
I wondered what you were doing. I was like, okay.
Yeah. No, I'll put that picture in the podcast. That's a very interesting sign.
Yeah. Sarah, is there anything other relationship-wise you want to talk about? Besides,
this isn't my relationship, and I'm not gonna give any names except for the guy in this relationship. But it was in I think 3rd grade. This guy and girl got into a relationship, and they were dating, and they were just kind of a cute couple. But I didn't like the guy. His name was Brian.
So was.
Yeah, no, I didn't like him. He was super weird and super aggressive towards people, and he would always write lava bucket on his papers in school. He would never write his actual name.
Anything besides lava bucket fits exact. Okay, sorry.
I'm like, but why? Why would you write lava bucket of all things? And he's like, that's my name. It's not. Your name is Brian. But yeah, so they got into a relationship, and at some point she eventually realized that she didn't want to date him, so she broke up with him. He did not like that. So he would follow her home from school.
Oh, that's when you get
and
that.
Stand outside her house. Yeah, so she was terrified. So she didn't want to tell her parents because kids that age aren't supposed to have relationships. So she didn't want to tell her parents. So she just had her friends walk her home from school every day. and she would just like hide in her room, and she was like terrified for the rest of third grade after that. And the guy, he just got more annoying after that, more aggressive, and he eventually left. And I'm just like, oh Jesus, thank God.
That makes me think of two other stories with the same kid, but word of advice my dad gave me, he was like, Rosie, I know they told you not to because you go to school, but just keep a pocket knife in the bottom of your bag. Come, just put it in your pocket. And I was like, okay, Dad, thanks. No, but my other story that reminds me of, there were two things that towards the beginning of hanging out with him, I was like, yeah, he's not dating material, because for one, he was telling me a story when we were walking on the track about how he was dating two different girls at the same time, but they both knew and they were both okay with it, and I'm just, no.
I don't understand those situations.
Yeah, I don't think I could be happy sharing like my significant other with another person.
Yeah. That's like super weird.
Yeah, especially since it's like
no offense against anybody, but I just don't see the appeal in that.
I don't understand. Because like, okay, I get...
And it's even worse if the two others don't know that that's happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, just straight up cheating.
Yeah, that's cheating at that point.
Can somebody please explain why someone would cheat?
The simple reason is they just don't have the guts to get out of their relationship.
Yeah, I thought about that, but you just kind of if you're going to stay in this terrible relationship and you know that it's bad for you and the other person, find some other way to break up with them. Even if it's if someone were to break up with me over text, I would be okay with it, because I know for a fact that they if they do it in a super jerky way, I don't like you, get away from me, I might be a little upset. But if someone were to break up with me over text, I would understand that they were too afraid to break up with me in person. Yeah. And that's okay. But
you don't cheat on someone.
Yeah, even if you're gonna do it through a friend, break up with them. If you are unhappy in that relationship, do it. It's bad for you and it's bad for the other person.
And it kind of ruins the other person's self-confidence too, because it's why did they cheat on me?
Yeah, and then it makes them think, why did they cheat on me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and then you hurt two people in that process. It just overall hurts more people. If you break up with someone, that person will eventually get over it, unless they're super obsessed with you, which is not good. Obsession is not a good thing.
Definitely a reason to break off the relationship.
Yeah, if someone is obsessed with you, that is definitely a reason to break up the relationship.
Another reason why I couldn't have dated that guy.
Yeah, no. When someone is in a relationship, each person should have their own support system outside of the relationship.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, no, keep going.
I think one thing that also really bothers me too, though, is when there's those people who are single who purposely, maybe it's just what gets them going or whatever, purposely look for people in relationships to date or have relationships.
Oh yeah, no, people who are single and they purposely go and try to break up other relationships. It's just because you're not happy doesn't mean other people can't be.
Yeah, come off your high horse, dude. Yeah, but I mean, also, I guess going back to the polygamous relationship thing, I think it'd be even worse if one person, if you had, maybe let's say there was a guy and two girls. Guy was in love with girl 1 and guy was in love with girl 2, but girl 1 and girl 2 weren't in love with each other. Then it's just awkward and awful, and it's
Yeah. No, love triangles are a whole separate subject, because that's all weird.
Yeah, and it's just don't make it an actual relationship. Please, for heaven's sake.
I mean, technically, if you're looking at an evolutionary standpoint, which people who are super overly religious will get mad at me by talking about this, but from an evolutionary standpoint, humans are meant to have a different mate every time. And there are a few there's a few I don't want to say civilizations, they're more tribes in Africa, where they will all get together and have a child, all the men onto one woman, And so none of them know who the actual father is. So like the whole village takes care of the baby and the like together.
Yeah.
And that usually works out the same way. And technically it's only weird because of the way that we have set up our thought process. And I'm not going to start saying it's because like it's just social structures and all that, because thoughts.
I think, I don't know. To me, the kind of, family system, two parents and children, it makes sense to me though, because
it does make sense.
Finding one person that you share enough values with to like actually raise a kid, that's hard enough, much less finding multiple people where you're all gonna want to bring up this child with the same values. Because I don't know. To me, if you're gonna get married and have kids, you should be it's not fair to a kid to put them in that kind of situation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, that's just messed up.
Yeah. No, I mean that's why I feel like, unplanned pregnancy is like, okay, do that. But if you're having a planned pregnancy, make sure it's with a person that you want to be with for the rest of your life. Like, don't make a split-second decision and say, I want a child, or I am going to get married to this person and then have a child. No, like, be married to that person for like a fat minute before you decide to have a child with this person, or like at least be in a relationship with that person if you don't want to get married. Be like extended, like boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whoa, what was I gonna say? Hold up, just completely lost my train of thought. I have something to say. I had a question. Gosh dang it, give me a second. Okay, I was gonna say something like, while we're on the topic, what, like, my brain, what do you think kind of, like, what, like, character traits, or, like, just what do you think constitutes two people being, like, good together for a relationship? That makes sense?
So I'm going to explain my theory right now. On my relationships and like my theory on relationships. And relationships doesn't necessarily have to mean romantic, and it can just be like friendships or just generally getting along with a coworker. So I believe that there's a spectrum of like personalities that a person can be on. And I am yet to make this spectrum, but I will one day. And so the closer that you are to that person on the spectrum, you're less likely to get along with them. And so I think the best characteristics for parents to have is they should like each other, but they should have different characteristics that they can teach their child. So if you have two like super peaceful parents, then the child will turn out like super, super peaceful. But if you have like an aggressive and a peaceful parent, like they'll be a pretty average child, and they'll know the whole spectrum of how to do things. So I think it's always good in a relationship. A relationship can get boring if both people are like the exact same person.
Because it's basically just one person.
Yeah, you have the same characteristics and the exact same likes and dislikes. It's always good in a relationship to have things to talk about and things to argue about.
Yeah. I think maybe just the most important thing for like things to have in common is just shared goals.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you want shared goals. But separate personalities.
Yeah.
Because it can turn into a toxic relationship if both people get too obsessed with themselves or with each other.
Honestly, and it's just kind of like, have you ever met a couple where they're just the same person?
Oh yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's like what's happening there?
It's like, did you guys just merge together? Are you telepathically linked?
Yeah, no, did you guys like telepathically link together and now you're just like a hive mind or something? Don't come near me.
Also, that must be like, okay, I guess, so for my parents it's kind of like a bad cop, good cop situation, where, I mean, obviously both of them are good people, but like, my mom's kind of the more stern, like, do your chores person. My dad is very like laid back and chill. Like, I've only ever heard him yell like once or twice. He does not get mad easy, but like, I know how to work the system. I know which parent to go to if I want things. If both my parents were the same person, I'd never get anything I want. That would be awful.
Yeah, no, it's the same way. And especially with like parents, it's easy to read their personalities because
Yeah.
you've known them for so long, and so like when they're in a bad mood, and you know not to ask them for McDonald's at this certain time. So yeah, no. So like I cannot wake up my mother in the morning and say, "Hey mom, can we go get some hash browns from McDonald's?" But sometimes my dad will do that. My dad will like I can wake up my dad and go, "Hey dad, can we go get some McDonald's?" And I'll go, "Yeah, son."
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, we've gone to parents. Okay, back to.
Oh yeah, no, we've drastically veered off course, and now we're at 30 minutes. I think we should sign off.
Probably.
We can continue this conversation in another video,
Yeah.
or podcast, whatever.
Same difference.
Yeah. Okay, well, this has been Aiden.
And this has been Rosie, and you're watching Dumb and Dumber. You were gonna